So I just came back from watching No Game No Life Zero in theaters, and I've got a bunch of scrambled thoughts about it running about in my head, and I don't feel like putting in the effort of actually writing them down and making an entire dedicated video to it, but I also don't want all these thoughts to go to waste, and I know I haven't uploaded in a while, so I'm going to do my damnest to try to make any sort of coherent put down any sort of coherent thoughts out to the world while I still can. And I know this isn't my usual shtick, but I'm gonna try it anyway, so here we go! First thing you know, I went to a Japanese language subtitled showing in my local theater, which, because, I've never seen the dub of the original show. Subs over dubs, ha ha ha, I don't really care. But before they actually play the movie, they played interviews with all the English voice actors and played clips from the English dub of the show, and it went on for at least 20 minutes, and the whole time I was just sitting there thinking, what are you doing? Fathom Events, Sentai Filmworks, who decided that we're attending the Japanese audio release? What makes you think we give two shits about the English dub voice actors and what they care about? And I mean, to be absolutely fair to the English dub voice actors, the few clips they played of the show dubbed, it was fine. It wasn't terribly offensive. They did their jobs. I'm sure they had a good time doing it. I'm sure they put out a good product. Whatever. The point was, no one in the theater cared. As soon as that finished playing, which was 20 minutes after the film was supposed to start, the guy in the row immediately behind me yelled out, "Oh, thank God it's over. If we wanted to hear your fucking voices, we would have come on Sunday." And he yelled that really loud, and everyone in the theater applauded him. Now, on the one hand, I usually don't advocate being rowdy in a theater, but on the other hand, that man is the hero we deserve. Okay, so I thought the movie was good, first off, but coming out of it, I felt there was definitely dissonance between what I expected from the film and what I got from it, and I suspect that if I were ever to go back and rewatch the film, I would enjoy it more because I would know what to expect. The film sets you up to believe that this is a hard war narrative with some light comedy in there, and with a side story of love between the two main characters. But what it actually is a love story between the two main characters with all the war shit as a backdrop, which is really odd considering that the finale of the film is about the war shit, and the climax to the main love story happens 10 minutes before. But, okay. So there are kind of two stories in this movie. There's the love story, and there's the war story. The war story is lacking, because so much time is dedicated to the love story. What it purports itself to be is a cunning story of the underdogs coming up and ruthlessly, cleverly manipulating things behind the scenes to get the result they want, and keeping their morals intact. You've got humanity who hasn't really been, I guess, designated a race in this proper intelligent race in this universe, and they're sick of being murdered and looked down upon and shit. So, main character guy, God, I'm already forgetting his name. Main character guy, I'll remember his name. He gets together a bunch of other people who are sick of this shit, and they form a pact, and they vow to not kill anyone, to not get killed, and to manipulate things behind the scenes so they can end the war. Which is cool, but we hardly ever see any of that. We get, one scene where main character guy, I'm gonna remember his name eventually, where main character guy manipulates an elf girl who looks an awful lot like the elf girl from the series, but I'm not sure if she's the same girl. God, I'm sounding so... It's been 3 years since I watched the show. We get one scene of that, which is pretty cool. We see how this guy is pretty clever in manipulating information and getting things to go his way, and that's it. That's all we get from the war story angle. Okay, we do get some cool aerial battles with the main girl and Jibril later on, but that's not really connected to the main plot. That's more a driving force for the love story. The climax of the film, as I said, was part of the war story, but it's gone all beyond clever tactics and shit, and it's just special effects showcase and main character being emotional as he dies. I should probably should have said that. I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this movie with these thoughts. Ooh, I guess I'll throw text at the beginning of the video. Low effort. Anyway, I'm disappointed that I didn't get enough of the hardened war story because the film starts and it sets up, and how it starts, it sets up your expectations for it to be a hardened war story, which it doesn't have enough of, but oh god. Alright, so the start of the film is actually pretty good. You see main character guy, I need to remember his fucking name, and two of his compadres. They're searching about some ruins. They find some useful information that can help them to survive. And then all of a sudden there's this giant fucking worm thing that never comes up again, and it kills one of them, and not Shiro, and main character guy and his other buddy just get back home, and main character guy is really mad that he got another guy killed, and you're like, oh god, there's hard emotions all over the place. The dead guy's little girl's beating the shit out of him. It's emotional, it's heart-wrenching, it's war story, holy shit. And then it just doesn't do that ever again. And instead it focuses on the love between a robot girl and the main guy, which is fine, but if you're gonna start your movie with giant fucking explosions and a worm exploding a guy, then I kind of expect a little more of that. God, my complaints sound really pedantic, don't they? Alright, so I'm complaining about the war story a lot. How does the love story fare? I can't say it's terribly original, but it is quite effective. So you got... God, I need to remember their goddamn names. Alright, fuck it, I'm gonna Google it. Riku and Shuai. Riku's the main guy, Shuai... Fuck, I'm just gonna call her main girl. Those are the main characters. God damn, I just watched the fucking movie. How do I not know their names? Anyway, okay, so the romance between them, I think it's actually... It's the better half of the movie, and that's why... Okay, not half, like 2/3, and that's why it retained the focus, which... I guess I'm okay with that, but I wish it was clear from the start that that's what the movie was going to be. The thrust of the film is robot main girl, who slowly gains emotions as she studies freaking Riku and his war machinations and his human heart. And over the course of the film, they fall head over heels in love with each other, and eventually they die, and it's all heart-wrenching, and it's pretty good. There's a scene where Riku proposes to her, and at first she rejects him because she kind of rejects herself. She believes that she's incapable of truly living a happy, loving life with Riku, and then through some heart-wrenching first through a bit of comedy, and then through some heart-wrenching conversation, they end up she ends up accepting his proposal, and there's a heartwarming scene of them getting married, and it's all really nice. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's all very nice, and oh god, I'm terrible at this unscripted thing. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the romance is nice. The scenes with them together, they're heartwarming. There's a few jokes thrown in. There's emotional turmoil going on because, you know, people are dying. Riku has emotional trauma to deal with because he's ordering people to die, and he wonders if he's really doing the right thing and all that. And through each other, they sort of become better people. That's it, really. That's it. Their love story works because they become better people because of each other. Previously, they were, you know, functional. Riku was leading their people, but they were just surviving, and main girl was just part of her robot group. But because they met, everything became possible. Because Riku met Shuai, he became determined to fix all this shit. He was able to, you know, fix the world in the end. And because Shuai met frickin' Riku, she became an emotional being who can love and shit. I'm terrible at the unscripted thing. This is going to be the worst video I've ever put out in the history of life. Anyway, so the emotional thrust of the two main characters is what keeps the movie engaging throughout it. The war stuff could have been better, but the love stuff sufficed. The whole film is framed as... The framing device of the film is in the present time, in the time the series is set, with the god guy Tet just telling this story to one of the characters. And Near so far as I can tell, the only point of that framing device existing is at all is, well, I'm not sure if that's how it was framed in the original light novel. I don't give a shit, frankly. As far as I can tell, the only point of framing it that way in the film was so at the end we could be back in the present time and have a teaser for a potential season 2 by ending it on all the main characters just standing on a cliff saying, let's play the games," or whatever. And that's going to be really awkward on rewatches if there ends up never being a follow-up to this. Aside from the love story being okay and the military story, the Hardened war story, missing its high potential, there were some structural problems I noticed. Like, the character of Jibril, however the fuck you want to pronounce it, I don't... I'm pretty sure she's, like, all over the trailer. I didn't watch the trailers too thoroughly. I think I saw one. I'm pretty sure she was in it. Anyway, she just sort of shows up, like, near the end of the movie. Like, the trailers bring... I guess I shouldn't blame the movie for a trailer problem, but... since in the series she's a main character, her just sort of showing up out of nowhere is kind of weird. Anyway, she shows up out of nowhere and just sort of fucks up the plot, right? She just sort of shows up out of nowhere and then just kills the main girl. That's her role in the movie. She has no mention up until like an hour and 30 minutes into the movie, and then all of a sudden she shows up and she kills the main girl, and that's her role, which is like, okay, that was kind of out of nowhere. That was, on the one hand, it's kind of shocking and it gets you like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? Oh no. So I guess it's sort of emotional manipulation, but when it comes out of nowhere like that, it sort of feels like cheating. I mean, to be fair, the main theme of the movie is not main theme. Riku's plan is to sort of cheat the war into ending, which is how it ends up going. So I guess it's kind of appropriate that the main girl is cheated into death by one of the main characters from the series, but that she kind of just shows up out of nowhere is still jarring. And that her only role was to be an upsetting factor in things is just... it's weird, man. If they had just introduced her earlier and shown her, like, doing evil, I'm gonna kill people stuff, then fine, I'd have had no problem. But she just sort of shows up and, I'm gonna kill you now, and then main girl's dead, and it's like, oh... okay, well, I mean, fine. Another thing was how the whole war thing resolves. Okay, so Riku sets up the whole war thing. He doesn't set up the whole war thing. The war thing was going on. He sets up his spy unit, let's call it, the ghosts, and he manipulates everything into turning out so he can get the magic MacGuffin thing. And at the end of the film, everything goes his way. He gets the MacGuffin thing, at the cost of main girl, and as it would turn out, his life. And at the end, while he's dying and just seeing the magic MacGuffin thing floating away, he's like, "Oh God, or if there's a God of humanity or games or whatever, or I pray to you, please fucking save the world." And then there he is. Tet just shows up there, and Tet saves the world. And if this were not a prequel movie, that would suck. Right, because you've just got these characters fighting desperately for this one item, and then it's out of their reach, and then just Deus Ex Machina, here comes the god to save the day, and he does. If this were not a prequel, that would suck, right? Because Tet, in the context of the movie, without the framing device of Tet telling the story of this, he would be very poorly established, and you would seem to come out of nowhere, which I guess would be appropriate for a god, but it's only because we know going... if you've seen... it's only because this prequel is meant as a follow-up to the series. A prequel that's meant as a sequel, that's weird. It's only because we go into this film knowing that Tet is a god who ends up becoming... we know going in that he's going to be the god that saves the day, so we know what to expect when the finale comes. But outside of that, if we did not have that context, him seemingly coming out of nowhere to grab the magic MacGuffin would just seem like cheating. And... I suppose there was a lot of I've said this before. Riku did cheat the system. He wasn't completely unestablished within the context of the story he was telling of him becoming God and Riku and the main girl. But he was previously just like a shadow that Riku kind of thinks he saw. And then at the very end, oh yeah, he was real all along, guys. He could have, at least had a line with Riku beforehand. Something to establish him as kind of an actual player in this, instead of just waiting for humans to give him the chance to to be the god, be the one true god. I don't know. And the animation. Let's talk about the animation. It was the TV. It was a TV show. It wasn't terribly much. There were some cool explosions. That's basically it. That's the edge it had over the TV show. There were a lot of really cool, nicely animated explosions, and that's about it. It doesn't at all look like a theatrical production. It just looks like a really long episode of the TV show. Which, I mean, to be fair, it's fine. It looks nice. It looks nice and pretty. Well, not pretty. It looks all bleak, which is entirely intentional and works well within the context of the movie. It was just, for an theatrically released anime film, you would think, they would put more emphasis on character animation and, having things not be still shots all the time, but there were plenty of still shots, which I know it's... I watch the same anime you do, guys. There's still shots all around. It's just to be expected. That's what there is. That's how it's made, but I don't know. I guess I have this expectation with anime movies recently. All this year, they've been replaying Miyazaki movies in theaters. I saw Kizumonogatari in theaters, and in those movies, there's just character animation all over the fucking place. And then in here, it's just TV levels of still shots, and nice-looking still shots, granted, but still shots nonetheless, and it left me yearning for just something more visually engaging. Background art was great, character designs are great, but I just wanted it to move, basically. It wasn't bad at all. I just wanted more. This film left me wanting more. That's basically my entire point here. I wanted more of the war story. I wanted more animation. I wanted more. Even the love story, which I've been kind of praising a little, which I've been flubbing everything. I'm not making any coherent points, I realize. Even the love story felt like kind of forced, where the main girl's development of emotions and feelings toward the main guy, Riku, could have used a little bit more time. This whole movie, it felt like it would have worked better as a 8 or 10 or even a 12 episode, like at least an 8 episode TV series. Like an hour and 50 minutes felt like just a little too little. The pacing was a little too fast. We could have used more downtime with each of the characters to get a better sense of their personalities. We could have used more time to expand on the war story. We could have used more time to expand on main girl's developing emotions. What we got was perfectly serviceable, but man, I just wanted more. I wanted more. That's what I wanted from this movie. I wanted more. It did its job fairly well, but I wanted more of it. Maybe if I ever rewatch it, I'll think better of it, but as for now, I think it's like I'd give it a 7. I just gave it a score out loud. Oh no, people are gonna crucify me. How dare I quantify its value on the scale of 1 to 10 instead of just spending 20 minutes now incoherently rambling about what I thought about it. Ooh, I hope I edited this down. Okay, sorry you had to suffer through all that rambling. This was me experimenting with a different format of video. I probably won't do this again until I practice rambling coherently instead of incoherently again. But if you somehow managed to listen to all this, I won't ever be this bad at it again. Thank you for sticking through it. I've got a real video on the way. I promise. Shit, man. God, I'll see you later.